Hey there folks, I'm Mark from Spectrum Pulse, and today we have from Underscore's Wallsocket. Is it just me, or did a lot of hyperpop just seem to fade out of popular discussion in the past year or two? Now, I'll admit I didn't keep a finger on the pulse of it all, pardon the pun. The chipmunk samples, the slapdash glitch, and the wonky blur of emo and the plasticity of the pop left me kinda cold on a lot of it, but I've also heard a lot less buzz around a lot of acts, and far fewer of them get requested from me these days. Now granted, when I looked up Underscore's first couple of projects, I understood why, where every attempt to fuse in pop rock with jagged lo-fi samples, glitch, and midwestern emo, it missed as often as I found some glancing hits, to the point where I was less befuddled by the fusion, but left thinking that it was just a lot less than the sum of its parts. So I was frankly tempted to just veto this altogether, and then I wound up giving it a bunch more listens because this time I think Underscore's got the formula right and the album is great. And what's fascinating is that the sound palette, somewhere between early Black Dresses, Glass Beach, and plenty of bizarre sampled swerves, it still feels intact, but the scope is both more refined and expansive. Still a sprawling listen that winds into some weird territory, but it feels like those moments are better justified this time, especially in the thematic conceit of the album, exploring a fictional American small town called Wallsocket with two distinctive thematic arcs: the sterilization of something natural, alongside an apolitical take on horseshoe theory, where something goes so far into an extreme that it becomes its opposite. Now, I also think in a political framing, horseshoe theory is largely garbage. It conflates the aesthetics of hardline political movements on the left and right with what they actually believe. It's more often used as a defense of the proposed moderate liberal, while not examining what that liberal system enables. But what's kind of fascinating is that I think Underscore's gets to an interesting point outside of the traditional political spectrum. The whole liberal capitalist status quo right now, it serves to numb anyone that would actually challenge it on an emotional vibes-based level, which is what creates the underlying feeling that something is so very wrong and why people would be drawn into some of those warped extremes, especially in isolated or polarized American small towns. The analysis and solutions to that malaise, they might be wildly different, but the emotional undercurrent, which, let's be real, is the level that most people experience their lives, especially politics, it's surprisingly similar. And connections can be forged, especially when you're young and you don't have context for all of that larger baggage. And it leads to a level of insight into the social worlds of the three female protagonists and what they would try to take from each other that feels youthful in its framing, but with a level of thematic complexity and character depth that I found really damn potent, delving into religion, gender dysphoria, grooming, class consciousness, depression, parasocial relationships, and then the reality of finally choosing a lonely escape from the ossifying system however they can. Maybe not solidarity, and it might not even work, but maybe a tentative step towards freedom. So it is an insightful album, and hooks on songs like Cops and Robbers, Johnny Johnny Johnny, and Old Money Bitch, they punch a lot harder. They shove this album into greatness, along with some truly inspired instrumental ideas like those processed harmonica warbles, or the haunted Americana echoes across Shoot to Kill, Kill Your Darling, and Uncanny Long Arms, or the heartbreaking spare acoustics of horror movie soundtrack, or how Louise transitions as a pummeling noise rock banger into more of a ramshackle country track that actually keeps all those howling guitar leads, and then into an outright ambient folk song before bringing it all back. What would keep this out of my top tier? Well, I think some of it is still textural. I wish the more organic bass lines had a little bit more presence and groove to balance out the grittier program percussion. 77 dog ears, it's a great example of that formula working, more of that. The choice of glitch tones mean that occasionally the melodies are a little flattened, and the heavily processed vocals don't always give the different protagonists a unique voice or a chance for more interplay, especially when you have guest stars like Jane Remover, Gabby Start, and Henhouse. They show up anyways, although it could be part of the point that it's all coming from one universal voice. I get that too. And while listlessness is a thematic undercurrent, it does mean the album can start dragging a bit, especially by the end, even if Good Luck Final Girl sounds gorgeous with those ebbing strings and the touches of field recordings. Overall though, this is a huge step for Underscores and exactly what I like to see in this sort of genre combination. Grander scope, more conceptual. The hooks still work, they go off, with hyperpop and glitch informing and framing the strong foundation in both themes and sound rather than fragmenting it. It's an excellent album. What a great little surprise. Highly recommend you check this out. So yeah, thanks a lot for watching. If you'd like to like and subscribe, or hell, share this video around, drop some comments, I'd be extremely grateful. I'm curious where Underscore's fans fall on this, because again, it is a change and expansion of their sound, and that can be a little polarizing, I understand, especially in this sort of hyperpop or emo environment, especially with the glitch. But beyond that, if you guys want to get more albums onto my overloaded schedule, link to my Patreons or whatever there. And as always, I'm Mark. You're watching Spectrum Pulse, and I'll see you next time.